A teeny tiny bit. Right over there. There it is. Can't see it. Ba, 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 da, ba. Why, hello, Crystal. Zado. Who else? Everybody else who just tuned in. Hi. I wonder if my audio's good. Hello, Mr. Pisola. Let me double check my audio real quick if it's actually picking up what it's supposed to pick up. It might have reverted to the crunchinator. Good, it's not. There. Hello. Hello. So, immediately so many people. We have Waffle Carp. We have Doom. Batty Salas. Huh? Not even 2 minutes in. But let's make the stream warm up first. Normally, other streamers would do it by having a stream starting soon screen, which usually runs like, I don't know, 5 minutes. Here, though, we just kind of jump straight into the whole, the live. Hi Gab, I was unable to catch on your streams lately, says Neko Thunder. But I'm happy to see you doing good. Oh, thanks, I'm doing alright. I actually got a decent amount of sleep prior to starting stream. Surprisingly. Let's see how my pins are. Originally, I had my pins for, well, I was supposed to be playing billiards, but that didn't work out so well. So I assume let's just go scenic like this. Just per chance. There we go. Looks nice, doesn't it? Yeah. So, pin 2 would be reserved to, well, what the heck is it? Strange how things are inverted. Like this. Oh, a better view would give. Hello, Blue. There we go. Placeholder until Vesper arrives, at least. The beans, yes. Bit too high, aren't I, there? Have you guys not been here? This world has existed for quite a while now. It's really nice because it has actual directional lighting compared to the other worlds where they skimp out on things. What's this? Blue says, me and my little sister are working together for the first time ever and making a handball for blue scales. Just ordered more fur so we can do feet balls and the other hand do. Well, good luck with your project. Always a nice bonding idea to have arts and crafts with a younger sibling. I'm sure she'll be more than enthusiastic to help you with whatever you need. Just keep her away from the scissors. Forgive me for being late, minor troubleshooting. It's okay, take your time. No rush. Gosh, boy Robin 13 has subscribed. Oh, thank you, Robin. I don't know what this is. Something obscure in my trackers. No wonder. Okay. Okay, maybe not this song. Going to my detective vibes. From this playlist. There. Now, I would buy some Lego flowers to build together with my sister, and also get her away from the computer. Does she use the computer too much? Is she chronically online? Let's see how things are on my Discord. Did my stream ping start? We have Matthews all alone playing Final Fantasy XIV. My goodness. Vesper Starvale would want to join you, alright? Let the frames drop. Means, huh? There we go. High action. I originally thought about streaming by the car. Then again, it does seem a little bit gloomy for such a fine, beautiful day. Stream here instead. I'm super tired, so I might fall asleep on your stream. Well, go rest, silly. Come on. I'd prefer it if you put your head over by a pillow than forcing yourself to go stay here during my live. Well, Waffle replies that the sister has things balanced between online and hobbies, luckily. Great. Hello, Vesper. The music has Stranger Things vibe. Oh, this is from Arc Raiders. I don't play the game much, but I'm absolutely in love with the atmosphere and the OST. Hello, Dragon, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 digits after their name. So you are the 6,333,743rd dragon among the dragons. Neko Thunder says I got my first kill after 40 hours of playing Arc Raiders. Defensive, of course. Defensive? They're called a raider for a reason. You see something move, you shoot it. Shoot to loot. Nah. Just woke up. Great start to my morning on my day off. Well, welcome, Robin. Thanks again for the subscription. Blake has started playing Arc Raiders. I'm stuck on Hogwarts Legacy. I never managed to finish Hogwarts Legacy. How far away was I? Vesper says seems I was too tired to remember to set my headphones in the proper way. Give me 15 minutes. Let them charge a little. Go charge your headphones. Go chill there, Vesper. 15 minutes of charging the Logitech of her should garner her a few hours of usage. It has a 24-hour battery life after all. I'm always trying to be friendly, says Neko Thunder, carrying a defib to revive others. Ah, so you're the type of people I prey upon on the game. Ah, don't shoot! Let's team up! Sure, pal, let's team up. Whatever you say. Ah, now I load my shotgun and just put my shells in. Yes. Maxim says he sniped 2 players that had rifles with my shotgun. Right? Remember, in any game, any world space, any environment in which you have other people that can shoot you, trust is the lowest of priorities. Vesper says, I'm not used to how specific these headphones are with their charging dock. There is a reason why I bought a magnetic cable, a USB-C, and put that on my Logitech and just plop, charges all the time. I never relied on the dock. Probably something you want to go buy in Amazon next time. It's cheap, what? $3 for the cable? Don't wait for me to be friendly, of course. If you see me, shoot me on sight, because I'll do the same to you. Man. My gesture is disabled again, huh? So each time I update, I have to restart that. There we go. It's fun to have 7 players around, one gets sniped and we light that sniper up together. Of course, and during the chaos you go plant a high explosive mine right in the middle of the group, wiping the rest. And saying, oops. Let me honor our fallen comrades by taking his loot home back to Speranza. Ah, gosh. Right? You put a nice little boom boom right over the elevator, which is supposed to bring you home. Nah. Let's the things that pucker really tight. So just like with Pelican 1, where you go drop a 500 kg stratagem, you see the red laser attached right on the aircraft, but it flies off in the last second and then we all survive. Hello, Argent. Argent 58. Sounds like your name should have been Agent instead, so it's cooler. But who am I to guess? Wonder where the Vesperino is. She's around the room though, don't get me wrong. Look at Matthew Sunseeker still playing Final Fantasy. My goodness, are you going through the main story quest? The most boring crap ever in any damn game in history. Ugh. Also, I'll see you action. Bye. Now, Argent is the name of my first D&D character, and I like the name, so I kept it. Ah, valid. Thanks for correcting me. Argent. I could have sworn I encountered that term in Neverwinter Nights, now that I think about it. Wow. Here we are again with the headset sliding down. Just like that, it's Monday, huh? So quick. I love the VTuber model, by the way. It looks really cool. Thanks! Well, I gotta thank TokyoZilla for their hard work making the base, the Hydra G, and also Albert for the high-knit parts. All I did was kit bash things. Many people assume that I've made this model. No. Of course not. Yeah, sure, I did dabble with things in Blenderino, but all the credit should go to those two. Good morning, Internet people. Why, hello, Pascal. It's been a while. How are ya? You on a plane? I would want to have one too, but I honestly have no idea how to do that. Same here. I started the year with pretty much no knowledge about tweaking anything with regards to 3D models, but alas, my curiosity has pushed me to go learn and pick up a skill along the way. Kit bashing. Oh joy. We're sculpting one shape key, so you have better face tracking compared to the default. Fitting clothes which don't really fit your avatar by default, but lo and behold, I got something for the Rex fitting on this base. Little wins. Arden says this tree makes me want to write for D&D. Gives me good brain scratches. In what manner? Good morning, Mitzi. How many reprimands do we need to make? The moment Mitzi wakes up, it's either work or going over at the furry hideout, mingling with the public. But I hope you're okay. Headphones at 15%. Go charge it to 25. Take your time. I'm here anyway for 2 hours and a half. My partner's over there. She's sitting by the corner. I'll point the camera later when she's out. Good afternoon, Raven Paws. I want to write about a bunch of Dragonborn and Lizard folk NPCs. Well, what's stopping you? You can always do it even without the stream. It's... Let that creativeness flow. Just another standard workday, says Mitzi. Monday to Friday as per usual. But we do have a short week this week for Thanksgiving. The season of turkeys. 4 months, 4, 8, 12. 33% of a year, 1/3 of it. Thanks for the support, Stars Wolves. I got into 3D to earn money for survival. I was doing stuff. One of the most lucrative things when it comes to 3D from what I've seen is the stuff that kids shouldn't watch. You use a certain type of face tracking software. Well, I just use the standard for VR chat, VRCFT. It's something you can download on Steam. Of course, you gotta have the prerequisite hardware. I'm using a Quest Pro for a headset, which has eye and lip tracking, which culminates into face tracking. Don't Google my nickname. I'm about to Google your nickname. Alright, let's do it. Neko Thunder. Nekko. Hi, I'm Neko Thunder. I make 3D stuff in Blender. I'm still learning, and I'm trying very hard. I am now a refuge. Wow, I'm still looking good so far. Alright. Okay, what the? I'm not seeing anything that I should hide. Unless I am misreading things. Anyway, curiosity got to me. I returned. I'm looking forward to a nice weekend. A nice weekend that I hope you would use to catch up on rest. And being nice with just the 1 hour timeouts. It's for your own good after all. Now, let's get back to sitting, shall we? A collie, huh? Hello, Cinder. You know, earlier I was, speaking of Googling, I was researching. Would I fall under the category of a dragon or a lizard? And then I read like the key differences between them. Anatomically, dragons have the horns and the wings, and you know, I'd have neither of those. And then personality-wise, usually dragons are more mystical, prideful, majestic, and wise. And then lizards are more cunning and I actually have the result. No, I restarted it, damn it. And something said, okay, maybe I fall under the lizard umbrella better. Does it matter? I usually sleep in on the weekends, says Mitzi, so I get most good rest. It's just the weekdays that cut that sleep short. Crystal Tide, I need you to Google it for me, and then give me a condensed version of what you see. My research must have yielded inadequate results. Didn't Tokyo describe the Hydra as snake-like? So if a snake-like thing has limbs, it's a lizard. There we go. I'm a lizard chat. Congratulations. Oh, look, it's that handsome dragon. I'm like, thank you for the compliment. A snake with limbs is a skink. That's true, except the skink has super tiny limbs, right? I don't have borderline vestigial arms and legs. Gab Illuminati lizard confirmed. Ooh, I'm slowly, subconsciously letting you become devout follower. Devout follower. There we go. I fumbled. I can't maintain English. Ugh. I didn't know skink was a thing. Snake lizard. Sila. Hi, Beth. I'm glad you could make it. Gosh. I was worried where Beth went. I didn't see him much during my last stream or the other. I was like, Oh, I remember now. You were dealing with the troubles of getting a, what is the proper term? Impaired defender home. And with the subsequent costs that accompanies it. Ay, ay, ay. I do hope you get it fixed. I really hope you do. I may not make it for the Christmas thing, but oh well. Last stream I was at the Witches Market. Oh yeah, that thing's super dead for 2 more months. Oh, Witches Market, I see. I'm Glad you were having fun. I remember seeing the pictures, so that's what all the bazaars and the stalls were. Lots of those things here in the Philippines too. It's very commonplace. But yes, welcome, Beth. I'm glad you could make it. Let's see if my camera works. Ah, who is that we see over at the opposite end of things?
Do I need to move?
Damn, look at that Dolby surround esque. Hold on. How do we do this conversation? Let's play around with the pins. This is Vesper. Vesper Starvale. She's the mod. And many other
Hi.
things. Hold on. Let's make sure we get the Starvale camera working. There we go. Looks like one of those windows you would see with Skyrim modded to the max, since he's one of those NPCs. Hi, Vesper, says Neko, Waffle, and Biff. All three.
Hey.
My goodness, ain't it fantastic what AI can do nowadays? So lifelike with the expressions and the wordings. Can I ask her something? I'm just joking.
My God.
She's not AI. She's not AI. So, yes. Ow. Oh, gee. What is the meaning of life, Vesper GPT? Ask Beth.
42.
The heck is 42? It seems like she needs a bit more training, chat. Vesper new model, yes. It looks cool, yes. She has upgraded into something much more animated. Albeit I may need to adjust the shininess a teeny tiny bit. She's okay. There we go. Have the sun behind her back so it hurts your retinas. There we go. I'm just joking. That's a good position like this. Vesper, you see, is supposed to be a dragon bat. I know, a unusual combination because of how close they are together. But alas, it's a look that works. Don't ask where her wings is. They're probably on vacation behind her clothing.
They're on vacation, sure.
They're on vacation, yeah. A very good looking model, says Crystal. High in it base, right? Great editor. Yeah, it took me a lot of ibuprofen, as you pronounce it, in order to get it working properly, especially with the hair. Ah, yes, look at that. She's the color of your over-the-counter paracetamol. Orange, 500 milligrams. Has that funny notch in the middle. Mm-hmm. I remember Crystal posting a photo as well in the VRChat channel. It was the Space Scene, wasn't it, by Lindy? I checked out Lindy's Twitter earlier. I think I landed on the other Lindy page and I was like, okay, that's not SFW. Where's the... It has the W one. But yeah. The Space Scene. I haven't been able to have a good look at the Space Scene, and dude, see what the difference between Albert's Hyanid and Lindy's Space Scene is. But I could definitely see it as an alternative option for those seeking. Actually, I do have another pic of it from last night. I see. Bites into your tail, Vesper. Come on, let's play with the roleplay. Vesper, show him out the door. Chat,
Alright.
you're about to see the mod in action. Look at that. Ooh, just
Bye.
like that. Straight into the ring. She's ruthless, isn't she? Hmm. No Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy 42 is indeed correct. See, Beth is nice to the AI. You know me, whenever I talk to Copilot, I say good morning, good afternoon, or please, and then thank you. Just in case. I even treat my vacuum nicely. Thank you so much for your hard work on keeping my floor clean. In the event that you become sentient, I'm a friend, okay? Like, we're cool.
Your ass is not safe.
I'm probably not. Oh no. There we go. Nice little camera trick. Why suddenly we're talking about AI? Well, because AI is undeniably present in our day-to-day lives. Nowadays.
I mean, I work as a cashier on the weekends, right? Like, my manager had to pull me aside. Hey, we need to get numbers up for items and carts that you scan while you're watching self checkout, right? We need to train this AI model to recognize if there's an item in the bottom of the cart or not. It's everywhere at this point. Oh, my face tracking froze. Sorry.
That's all good. What's this? Shadow Tempest says. Ah, yes, the one with a very impressive resume for being a dad. Got some good news here recently. Long story short, I might be able to retire a lot sooner than I expected. Got some good news from the VA, and now I'm all but set now. Congratulations! I guess you're gonna get the VR headset soonest. Oh. Speaking of getting things soonest, recently Honda, from what I've seen on Facebook, the branch in Honda, the one that has like the Africa Twin, recently has a $2,000 discount on their models. And I was like, I have to confirm it's not the adventurous sports model, which is what I'm after. And I need to see how long that promo is gonna last. Probably until it lasts, the unit gets sold. But that is a lot of money saved. So now I'm the itch to go twist a throttle is starting to turn into FOMO. Oh. Beth says VA is Veterans Affair for you non-Americans. Oh. Well, now I know. That means I gotta learn about VR and see about getting a Sir Galdon now. Okay, well, I suggest dipping your leg until the thighs into VR, meaning you go get a headset with face tracking. Instead of buying something cheap, right? And then you're gonna get the itch later on to upgrade. Saves you more money down the line.
If you
Game
need a
here
good
from
place to look at
Insta.
it.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Beth.
Oops, sorry.
Is your face tracking working?
I was saying yeah, it's working again. I was about to say, like, if you're looking at, like, say, turtle bases and all that, Gumroad's also a pretty good place to look at Avatar stuff. But there's also, like, Jinxie as well.
Right. And was it only those two? Wasn't there something like PayHip, or was it just a payment option? I
PayHip,
forget.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, although PayHip's not as common, I think.
Yep. Yeah, there was PayHip, and then there was Boot. Boot, if you're more into the Japanese-styled kimono abis, anime girls, and whatnot. Jinxie is for more of the e-girls and e-boys, if you're into that. shebang. Gumroad as well, that's a mixed bag of everything, but predominantly the furry stuff. But, yes. Again, Cyanic says they came here from Instagram because your voice is very relaxing. Hi there, welcome. You're watching a Geb who is properly topped up in the amount of sleep that is required. The past few streams have kind of been semi-running on fumes. Look at Vesper while I adjust my headset. There's a hair in my eye. Oh no.
Yeah, I don't even have my overlay open because I was busy dealing with some hiccups. There we go.
Hold on, almost done. There we go.
Patience is key.
Hi, Geba, says Fox Carrier. Hi there. Hello, Leo. Was movie night. Oh, that got me really nervous for one moment to see what was on Flake's lower side of things. Thank goodness that was just wood. I mean, the wooden surface. You see what I mean if you did this. Oh, so that's the space scene, okay. Now where were we? Oh god, I see. Right? It makes you double take. Like, whoa, what's that? Hi, Duskfire. Congrats on the name change. Iron Wolf, hello. Gosh. Wonder what activities I have in store for the last week of November. This weekend, either this weekend or sometime this week, I will host a end of November community meet for those that want to show up. Yes, the whole big shebang where we hang out for a couple of hours, do things here and there. I have a bunch of ideas in mind that want you guys to try. It's also the perfect opportunity to go mingle with the rest of the community, probably make friends and whatnot. And of course, if you want to say hello to yours truly, well, that's the opportunity to do so. I normally have such low social battery, so I try and save it up for these community meets whenever I host them. I'm the type of person who easily gets worn down in the company of 3 people or 4 tops. It's not mandatory to join in anyway, only if you want. But I'm still thinking if I should let the desktop users in because they honestly creep me out when you just stand there like a statue with the rest of the people. School should be out, so I should be able to go. I look forward to seeing you again, Crystal. Make sure to bring Flake along if you can. I just got back from the ad break, says Skeeter. What were you saying about meetups? I'll be hosting one within 1 week. End of November thing. Yes. Also, once this funny little bar over here gets filled up and we meet our monthly goal, I will give something special for December, that's for sure. in accompaniment to our so nice holiday season. As long as he ain't working, I'll drag up. Don't force the man if he's busy, though. Shadow says my social battery is low to begin with. I'll hang out with a friend and then spend weeks to myself. Much more of a hermit than myself. My goodness, if it isn't Mystic! Hi there. Greetings. Nice of you to drop by my stream. How you doing? I was thinking about dropping to your instance at one time, but I think you were busy. I don't remember if you were in red or orange, but I would dare not intrude. How do I find the meetups? Do I have a group to join? 1. You have to join Gebus' Shadow Guild. That's a VR chat group. 2. You have to be at least level 5 over at the Discord. It means you have to be active in the community before you actually show up. I am very strict when it comes to screening people now. I want to sieve the bad eggs from the good ones. So I hope you understand. I want to get to know you more before actually seeing you face to face and letting you meet the rest of the community members. Some people just let anybody hop in, and then they end up with stagnant air. Things are awkward. People that don't really mesh well. You know what I mean? I want to avoid that completely. Gotta make sure that the vibes are just right. We're all on the same wavelength. Yes, I like to keep things in order. Send my resume. Sure, why not? I'm curious. Mystic says, boys, stop. You know I don't touch red for any reason. Okay. Could have sworn when I was by the stoplight, it flashed red from green and yellow. I don't know if you fancy onsens, but that's where I was at. No, I like onsens, of course. Nice, relaxing, soaking hot water, the steam, the ambience. Just letting all of your digital stress and weariness wash away. I can't be active while you focus on your priorities first then, Neko. I go to community meets to take pictures. Well, in order for you to take pictures, you have to be level 5, just like everybody else. Level 5 is achieved by chatting for around a day in the Discord, you know? Join into the general chat, engage in conversation. I don't like it when people show up, but they've never chatted before. So when they're in the instance, we're like, who's this guy again? Awkward, isn't it? I want it to be so that when meetups occur, it's like a congregation of acquaintances, of friends. Like, hey, what's up? I'm glad you could make it. Right? Welcome, welcome. You go mingle with the others, alright? Makes me want to get a hot tub IRL. Maybe when I get my back deck redone. You know, I've been eyeing this inflatable, or like rather collapsible bathtub for one that you can set up in your bathroom. That's why, like $20. Just put my hot shower to it, fill it up for like, I don't know, 15 minutes, and then voila. Mystic says exactly. There's a couple of worlds where the water are true to the physics. Really hard to leave from there. I think I know what you're talking about, where even the little bamboo bucket floats on top of the water, and when you put it underneath, you can collect. Yes, fantastic, isn't it? An inflatable? Yeah, the inflatable or collapsible bathtub. It's in AliExpress commonly for those that don't have space in their houses for a big ceramic bathtub, right? I don't see what's wrong with that.
Yeah. Think of it like one of those kiddie pools, not one of those pool toys.
Yes, what Vesper said. Oh. Surely White Iron Wolf, who's already had several fouls in the Discord, wasn't trying to make things weird, right?
Yeah.
I sure hope that wasn't the case. Vesper says we are strict because someone acts a muck. It ruins everyone else's fun time, especially when they have to boot and ask someone to leave. Yep. You see, unlike others, I don't coddle people, right? I don't like you because you're a little shit in the instance you just get booted, period. It's like I find it cringe when people approach like obviously trollers and griefers like I feel uncomfortable with you being here. I think you should leave. Bro, you're not complaining to HR or a manager. You're in a VR chat instance, a block. Remove the person. Yeah. So many people without backbones.
There is a strong line between quote unquote gremlin and straight up misbehavior.
That's true.
You misbehave, you're being a butt in front of everyone else, you get blocked.
I think
Simple as that.
the one observation I have, Vesper, was when there are instances, right? It's just a general meetup, a hi hellos with the communities and whatnot. And then a person who is either drunk or under the influence of substances shows up. Right? They can't really comprehend being told off and whatnot, but it just ruins the fun for everybody else because of their obnoxiousness or their strange behavior because they're under the influence. Like, do whatever you want, man, as long as it's legal and it's not here. Right time and right place, that's what I tell to everybody. Drinking nights and games, sure, by all means, bust out the whiskey, the beer, whatever you want to drop down into your gut, wash down your throat. But if it's something general where it specifically says don't do these things, you can't be excused for such, how should I say this? Damn, how do you say it in English?
Such misdemeanors.
Such misdemeanors, there we go.
But yeah, really, we just want everyone sober at our meetups, you know? Because one person out of their mind on their substance choice, it just ruins the fun for everyone else if they're misbehaving and then they can't comprehend any sort of punishment or like anger, annoyance from other people because of their actions.
Precisely what Vesper said. I mean, I'm no saint, chat. Prior to stream, around after dinner, I finally busted open the samplers of plum juice from a friend sent in, well, I think it was Taiwan. It was royal honey, more sisho, and then more age, I think, or sesho, I forgot. So it was this tiny, like 20 ml thing, 17% alcohol, and it was delicious, yeah. That's probably why I managed to go sleep so well prior to streaming, and I feel great. But then again, I cannot stress it enough. You do those things. Right time, right place, okay? And then I hear like instances of like, oh, I didn't know what I was doing. I was drunk, man. This is the phrase I hate the most. That wasn't me. Like, it's you. I don't care if you're drunk, under the influence of whatever you inhaled, smoked, or shot up, Or if you have, like, whatever personality disorder, you take responsibility for whatever the heck your hands and mouth decided to flap and do. There's no real excuse. Don't hide behind that diagnosis.
Heck, more often than not, from what I've noticed at least, alcohol will sort of loosen your lips and you'll say things that you actually mean, but
Sure.
you never will say to their face, right to them while you're drunk.
Precisely.
So, how can we be sure that that's not how you truly feel? That's not what you truly want to say to us.
Yes.
When really you are under the influence, but do you actually mean that?
Right? They use it as a convenient excuse far too often.
It wasn't me. It was.
It was, punk. Anyway. Come on. Well, I'm glad you're aware of the absent-minded instances, Ironwolf. We all want to better ourselves with each given opportunity, right? And I hope you do so too. Mystic says, I immediately put my head down at Royal Honey. We'll talk about that later. You know, it's nice and thick and sweet. Just, ooh. Very honeylicious. Also, I found a new world that we can hang out in. It's essentially a floor higher than that Japanese thing with the kotatsu that we were at. Shadow Temper says, I feel like getting drunk and wearing a VR headset would be a terrible idea. If you're not accustomed to using VR yet, do not drink. I wasn't even drunk. The first thing I did when I got my Quest Pro 2 years ago was load up a YouTube video about roller coasters, and oh my goodness, I got so motion sick. Even without the headset, I had to lay down. I still had this strange, extreme vertigo going on. It was horrible. But if you're used to it, well, take it from Biff here. He recently was in a nice old drinking party with friends. He probably has a word or two to say about the experience. Crystal says there are very few excuses for how someone behaves. What you do is what you do no matter what. Exactly. Especially when substances are involved, and that was a choice to intake in the first place. To be fair, when I drink, I kinda wanna take a nap. Same here. I call it a sleeping aid. We need a Gembo dictionary for any new words it comes up with. Like what? Am I that bad with English? I'm starting to make up words. Gem, do you like curry? I absolutely love curry. 110%. Especially Japanese curry. You know, just pour it over rice, nice and sweet, little bits of meat. Hello, Lee. Live up. I'm glad you could make it. VR motion sickness is no fun, yes. Had my experience in dirt rally racing, right? It's like, From what I've heard, though, if you have a fan blowing against your face, it helps with that a whole lot. What in the funny music is this? There we go. Crystal says, good lord, the bad idea to have played the flight simulator in VIC on my work break. Oh, in test pilots? What type of curry is your favorite curry? Oh, that's hard. I probably have to hand it to the authentic Indian curries. Nice and thick. Where were we? Pineapple, mango, and banana. That's an interesting choice. I think VR is cool, says boy Robin, but I get migraines easily. Up, take it easy. Spicy Thai peanut sauce, delicious, perfect. Satay sauce is always good. You need to try curry, Neko Thunder. Pakistani curry was far my favorite. I have not tried any Pakistani cuisine. True, says Mystic. Highly recommend not to wear VR when drunk. In my case, drunk me has the energy of a kid in an amusement park. The bad part is that if I'm slightly bored, I'll world hop with no notice. Thank goodness Mystic was polite enough not to leave me hanging at any instance. But at least now I'll understand should that happen. Mystic's always been nice with us,
Oh,
wasn't she, Beth?
yeah, of course.
I do this. Here, okay. Damn, never mind. Time to get a good
Do I need to
angle.
move?
No, it's more on my end.
Ah, okay.
It's as if the camera's reflecting the glass behind. Oh well. Looks mildly disorienting. Wait. Fly speed. Let's turn that down to 0. There. So there we go. Conversation cam. Yes, that's
Hello,
best.
hello.
There. Enjoy. 900
But
knots.
yes, I'm here.
Come
So
on.
far today, I'm good. Woke up, had some food, and now I'm here after charging my headphones a bit.
Isn't she nice and clear? She recently upgraded from using some Chinesium material headset that was like, I don't know, $15-$20. And then, yeah, she got the proper Logitech one.
Yeah.
Super cool, super clear.
So I definitely sound a lot less grainy. And, well, yeah. The weak point of the MetaQuest Pro being being the microphone, that is no more.
Finally, that's been circumvented. So good. Already 1 hour into the stream, that's so quick. Gosh. What's this? Santa Claus has tipped 2.52. Why did my tip alert did not show up? Have I been missing tips? Yeah, also thank you so much, Santa. Have I been missing alert? It doesn't show up on my OBS. I only saw it in chat. Okay. Not something commonly asked, but Fluffy, Beth, anybody else? Did you recently give and it didn't register? If you did, I'm so sorry and thank you so much. What could be wrong with my stream elements? Concerning. I shall double check that. Properties. By the way, the upcoming cafe is a special edition, Friendsgiving. So you give your friend to another friend. Oh. Refresh cache. Page. Huh. Man. Friendsgiving, huh? Thanks. Thanks for letting me know. I'll try my best to attend. Shadow Tempest says, last time you streamed last week, I know you had some technical issues. It's not just you, but other streamers have had problems as well for several weeks. That's concerning. I kind of need the alert. Because, nothing makes me feel more bad than somebody supporting, and then I have no idea it happened. So I'm unable to thank the individual. So my sincere apologies if I missed anything. I'm gonna troubleshoot that crap now. Hold on. Could be here. Ah. Why did that not show up? Settings. Okay. Everything seems to be in order. Anyway, I did not mean to go try and troubleshoot things while I'm live on stream, so I'll deal with this later. I'm gonna go hydrate. Oh, Vesper, I think you need to drink too. Trying to get a good, healthy sleep rhythm back, says Fluffy. You probably should, especially if you're busy working. Ah. Wow, that's sour. That's fine. Understandable. You do what you gotta do, Fluff. Speaking of sleep, where's Mitzi? Mitzi is currently not in VR chat, surprisingly. One would expect him to be there. Scenic, the acid dog, says I can finally catch a stream. I love your videos on Instagram. It really helps clear my mind. Love from the UK. Well, I hope you and every person in the UK is doing great. I've heard not so good news happening in your area, so how do I say this? Keep strong, and you got this. Hello. How are things going for you, Gib? Well, I got some good rest earlier. I managed to polish some things in Unity for Vesper and myself. Been still itching for that RPG game to play. You know, I'm seriously considering getting the Division, but Also, we need to play that Aliens Fireteam Elite again. We just played once and that's it. It was actually quite fun. So many weapons. I'm thinking of what to do for December because I have some plans for December, that's for sure. There's nothing concretized. definitely something to give to you guys. It's gonna be rather Christmassy. Also thinking if I should do the thing once this funny bar reaches completion within the week. Yeah, been a full Santa outfit. Nothing promised, Rock. I've only been in VR chat at night, says Mitzi, usually when everyone is offline, except I do see Doran on at that time. Yes, Doran is quite the lurker in VR chat too. Not sure what instances Doran's in. But, according to Doran, the weekend has been great. Working away the Monday. Ah, yes. Do the thing in meaning getting the Africa Twin. Not exactly. It's more of do the thing which will help me get the Africa Twin. I'm thinking of a funny fundraiser we can do for December, chat, because I'm starting to die. It's so long. I need the bike. Oh, I need it so bad. I need to go drive outside. I need to have the fresh wind on my face, the rumble of the engine between my legs. So anyway, I'm thinking of ways I can make December fun, so it's worth your support, everyone. that's all. Hey, you know me, I like being transparent and honest with my goals and achievements, right? Team effort. Just don't want to be the usual boring old this and that here. If you've noticed, I've actually tried being more creative recently. I've done the driving in a car stream, which I think is actually really cool. Earlier, I will admit, I was trying to set up the billiards table. The plan was Vesper and I were supposed to play, well, 9-ball together, just walking around chatting, having a camera here. But unfortunately, we have a problem of play space. We can't exactly walk around the enormous billiard table. So, we'll think of something next time.
I'm gonna run into.
What?
You said, yeah, if we were gonna play billiards or something like that, I'd run into stuff. I mean, I've got bed to my right, desk to my left, nightstand right in front of me.
Yeah, true. It's an enormous thing. I need to look at activities one can do while casually having a conversation with another person. No, Fluffy, it's completely fine. I was not insinuating that you should, please. See you next week then, Fluff. What's this? Geb, do you happen to have any second bike to take out or something till you can get the Africa Twin? Unfortunately, no. I already sold my bike so I could get the funds because it was depreciating in value super quick. I'm glad I actually got to get rid of it. So I'm pinning my hopes on getting it January. Or Feb. Oh god. I might pass away. But anywho. Why do I say I might pass away? If you're a biker for many, many, many years and then you lose your motorcycle, you're not able to ride during the weekend. When you get that itch that you need to get out and just ride, have some coffee or a meal somewhere in some mountain restaurant or the beach where you can dig your boots into it and sit, listen to the waves. It's as if you're crippled, Jan. That's terrible. Riding public transportation just isn't the same. Chess would be cool. Hello, Astral Daemon. I don't know. I'm terrible at chess. What's this? Uno. I need to look. There has to be something that we can do. Definitely. Hello, Matthew. I see you are playing Final Fantasy. My goodness, are you. How deep are you into the main story quest? I could not. I subscribed to a month of it. I got burned out after a week or two because it was such a damn chore to play. It was the most boring combat rotation I've ever had in any MMORPG. It was the most dull thing. I don't know why people love the game so much, aside from the social and the fashion aspect. The graphics are dated, the world isn't even fully open, the combat is atrociously slow. Ugh. 1 out of 10. Maybe 2. Now, what did Fluffy say? Almost going through the same thing right now, Gab. Winter months means no bike for me either. Oh, shoot, that's right. You have to go store your thing. Oh, man. Hey, Fluffy, listen. At least, when you miss your bike, all you gotta do is go to your garage, right? And then you just put your key in, right? Beep. And then it starts. It's there. It reminds you it exists. It reminds you that all you need to do is ride it after a few months. Me? No, nothing. Not even a grave. All I have is an empty spot in my parking that I still pay for every month. I stare at it. It's just a void, painted lines on a concrete floor. Yes. I actually do that from time to time, right? Shadow Tempest was thinking about trading their car for a truck. When my Jeep blew its engine, I was really bummed. I learned how to do. Oh, okay. Up. Blue says, I'm guessing it's like when somebody that plays online games and has no single player games loses Wi-Fi for a month. It's like that. Imagine having no access to Helldivers, and then there's major orders, there's major bonuses and special events happening, and you can't play. The missing out part. Oh, good luck at the gym, Matthew. I'll see you around. I'm sorry for you, Gab. Soon. I'm pinning my hopes on it, too. Don't worry. I know we'll get there in time. Oh yeah, Blue, can you imagine the feeling? Or you can earn an exclusive cape, or helmet, or armor in Helldivers, and you only have a week to do it. And then somehow, oh well, those that didn't participate won't get it. You couldn't. You did not have the Wi-Fi. Get a cheap moped in the meantime. I was thinking about that. I could buy a cheapy bike, but that's gonna set me back maybe 2 months from buying the actual Africa Twin. And it's like, Yes, Rook, you definitely should. Riding, it heals the mind, body, and soul. Just make sure you have a proper helmet and gear. I would be absolutely distraught. Right? That's how I'm feeling right now, Blue. A biker without a bike. Oh, woe is me. How much is a motorcycle going to run you? Well, it depends on the model, really. But the Africa Twin here is unfortunately really pricey. Last I checked, it's roughly, for a brand new one without the accessories, it's 23k USD. So that's enormous for me. I've never I've never touched that amount of money in my life. So when you get it, you do a bike stream, right? Aha, so you got me. Because the next fundraiser I'm going to get is accessories for it. And that includes a camera in which I can stream things with. I'll probably go take it easy and stream on Discord first. I wouldn't want to jump straight to the whole. Let's watch Gib drive up the mountains after not using a motorcycle for 6 months. From a YouTube video, it turns into a live leak one. Let me get my sea legs back. Yep, it's 23k. It's inflated pricing here. 1,150,000 pesos. I used to earn in my old job 25,000 pesos per month. And I have to split that on bills, utility, and food, and rent, and you know, everything, the usual. That's why I said, you know what, getting that bike is just a pipe dream. No way am I ever gonna get that in my life. But now that... well, now it seems possible, chat. You're gonna be fulfilling a man's dream. My dream isn't as grand as most, like owning a yacht, a mansion, a hypercar. I just want a particular motorcycle and I'm happy, chat. All for the content. Oh, yeah. I hope that doesn't happen. I've already had my fair share of crashes, chat. More than 5 to be precise. New video, Gib gets gibbed on a oh, let's hope that does not happen, or Vesper here is gonna be very sad. He dragged my ghost back and then smack it. You idiot.
Yes. Yep. I'm not letting you go that easy.
Yep, that's it. No escape. Dreams don't need to be big. Some dreams, I just want a bike, and then I guess slowly I save up until I have my own home. I don't really need much to be happy, chat. It's all about independence for me. Right? Have your even just a small 1-floor home with a garage, a kitchen, a 1 room, a bathroom. Right? Somewhere up in the mountains. Once I get the bike, 100% I'm gonna go explore around the country and then I'm gonna document it, and the first people that are gonna see it are you guys. Watch me catch my breath as I'm so out of shape from not riding a bike for so long. Like, alright, I guess it's time to go. Up a mountain, dirt bike trailing came to mind. Yes, the Africa Twin, the bike I'm saving for, is actually an adventure bike. Very off-road capable machine. I'm not a big fan of sports bikes for this country in particular, because the practicality of their usage is rather low. Very short roads and terrible conditions. Impression Gibbs sold in his headset. Yeah, I'll just keep on streaming even if I'm like... Attainable dreams are nicer, says Crystal. Feels better when it does eventually get achieved, right? Dreams can be, I wanna be in shape, I wanna be in better health where I don't cough anymore, I wish I could walk, or things like that. It doesn't always have to be the most expensive thing on earth. I still do want to go to the moon or like Mars. That's the bucket list. Fluffy says, nice seeing that world. What nice seeing that nice world. Sorry, the text is so far. My overlay is there. What's the name? Also, hi Vesper. I don't know, but I can invite you if you're gonna pop into VR chat after stream. Yes. It's Sunrise Relit, I think. I'm from Germany. Good luck with that. What do you mean? Fastball on the job. Wow, I haven't seen this guy in a year. Unfortunately, I'm streaming, my friend. There you go. Where were we? I've thought about getting a motorcycle, but I then remembered I nearly rolled the Special Forces ATV when I was training. Maybe that's my sign now to get a bike. A big sign to get a bike is if you're physically capable of riding one. You see, motorcycles, unlike cars, these have stat requirements just like in games, like a certain amount of strength, constitution, dexterity. Hello, Litz. I know DE means like Deutsch, Dutch, German, but when you say dede, dede in Filipino means boobas. You know, oh, dede. It means like, yeah. So it's kind of weird when I read it. Okay, so it kind of is booba. You walk into stream and say booba, booba, booba. Nice, I'm from Dede. I'm a big fan of Dede too. Lots of my friends are from, yes. All from the far lands of Dede, yes.
You know.
You know. Yep, the first thing I did when I came into this world was jump straight at some Dede. Right?
What the?
Oh. Anyway, where were we? Fair enough, we'll be there. I'm sure you're gonna be avidly following my biking content. Well, Geb rides up to the mountains to have some, like, look for some dede. Like, oh, damn. Really? There's some German foods here?
You dork.
Yes. Yeah. Bee's reaction make it so much better. It's funny making Vesper laugh, really. God, I still won't forget how she couldn't control herself when I was telling the story about the volcano with there's just lot of these elements in the sky.
Oh, no.
Right? So a little fourth grader seeing a lot of ash, right? Like because of an eruption. So it's if you're on my Discord, all you gotta do is go to the edited clips and type volcano story or volcano. And I have a bunch of clips that I don't post in social media. It's Discord exclusive. It's probably the funniest thing you're gonna see. I'll see you around, Tempest. Thanks for dropping by. Watch out for your health, okay? Now. Never mind. It's all good. Perish the thought. I'm surprised General is rather quiet today. Everybody seems to be busy. Lightside HQ. Oh,
Well, I mean, it is Monday, so a lot
that's
of people
true.
are over at work.
Mhm. You know, I'm looking at Mitzi's pictures here in the VI Chat Pictures channel. The one in the middle where he's facing an aquarium strangely looks like me from behind. He's also got that handsome multi-eared spiky silhouette going on. 10 out of 10, Mitzi. Gosh, it makes me curious. What's the first destination I'm gonna go once I do have the bike? Do I go north? Do I go east? Or do I go south? I can't go west because west is directly the ocean. Uh, East, which means I go to the mountain twisties. 100 kilometers plus of it. There's nice mountain resorts up top, maybe waterfalls too. Cafes in particular would have a spectacular view above the clouds. Further east, I will end up in Baler. Baler is a nice coastal area. It's where people surf. If I go south, I end up in the Taal volcano, a volcanic lake. Yeah, it's a big lake with the volcano that's very low right below it. The thing is, it's been erupting as of late, many times within the past year or so. So maybe not there. I might get caught up with the ash all over me again. Yes, I rolled home before when it erupted and it was like, oh, ashfall. So that leaves me going north. North is far, far north. I would have to use the freeway. That's gonna be boring 3 hours of straight drive, and well, that lands me in the part of the Philippines where the temperatures are below 20 degrees Celsius. 18, 15, which is strange, and it's always foggy, and there's always pine trees. The cold north, yeah, that's what I'm gonna call it. I live in the metro, chat. Here in the city, because of the smog and the intensity of carbon monoxide, all of the exhaust, and well, the lack of trees, my usual temperatures are like 30, 32, 35 degrees Celsius on an average day. It's really hot. I might go east first and then north. South, probably not. Skeeter is asking, how did you get started with streaming? I'm kinda new to the scene and I'm trying to figure out to get better. 1, you gotta have the motivation to do it. 2, you gotta want people to see your face, how you sound, how you talk, and how you walk. That's the biggest motivator. I have something cool to show to people, and I'm confident about showing it. Me? Well, probably because it's a good exercise in English and in conversation. Also because I work on my own Avi, I tweak the base that I bought from Gumroad. So this is a kit bash. It's fun to do little tweaks. Hey, I managed to fit a new clothing option this week, and I can show it on stream. Hey, I've added fist bones to my collar. It's sort of like show and tell. You stream because you want to show something cool, chat. At least that's my reason. And I get to chat with people that genuinely want to be there. Hello, Charlie. We have a kiwi now. Little flightless bird, huh? Oh, fog school it is. Did Mitzi say? I do enjoy taking pictures, both VR chat and IRL with my DSLR. IRL, huh? So you're like, all right, there we go. Macro photography. Yes. Hello, Litz. Haven't formally greeted our lord yet, and I'm glad you could make it. Just the usual. And hello again. This is the second time I've accidentally opened Firefox. Disk. Oh my. Really? Spam? No, thank you. I got an email saying, oh, we can help you get that verified badge in TikTok. No, not those kinds of pictures. Right? Oh, I want a close up of the head. There we go. Stop moving. It's like when you're trying to take a picture of an ant on top of a mushroom, right? Macro photography. IRL pics from Mitzi, right? Just can't post it on the server. He probably posts in like only shrooms, It's like, oh wow, it's all over. Look at all those spores. Damn. Yes, I got curious and I checked what's lurking. Nancy says, I will say, I'd like to get a macro lens and maybe a couple of other lenses. But these things are always so expensive. Thank goodness I didn't get into the hobby of photography. The most expensive thing I currently am into is, well, it's VR chat. But to be fair, the expenses are mostly so I can improve how it looks while I stream. Second most expensive hobby. Maybe the bike. Does that count? I'm not a collector of bikes though. I buy one and stick to one. With motorcycles, I want to have a monogamous relationship. You stick with your one true beloved, right? Ain't that cool? Ride her all you want all day, every day. Go to any terrain. Oh, sorry, I clicked the camera. So, right? You have that one machine that can tackle any environment, any challenge. It's not picky about the fuel that you insert into her. Africa Twin. Can you believe it works with an octane rating of what? Is it 83 or 87? Most bikes are really finicky. They need 93 or above. Takes any bumps and whatnots that you drive through thanks to its long travel suspension. Semi-active at that, dynamically adapts to the terrain. And the DCT, having everything automatic really is a boon, especially in a very traffic city place like mine. I got spoiled by scooters, chat. Twist and Go is just so nice. It's DCT, yeah. Mitsu says I have one camera body and lens I've been eyeing for years, But every time I have the disposable for it, something else piques my interest. Or wallet. Like what? Are you a man with a lot of hobbies, Mitzi? I mean, I know you're into assembling things. You're good with a soldering iron. How does it work? Does it have paddles or something? By default, the Africa Twin comes with shifters on the left grip, the left part of the handlebar. So you press your thumbs to shift up and you click your pointer finger to shift down. If you want the manual mode, or you just click it and it enables to DCT, you don't have to think about it anymore. The biggest benefit of DCT that I've seen is when I tackle something uphill, right? Something off-road, I don't have to worry about my clutch burning or having to feather it properly. None of that is something you need to think about, which means I can focus more on maneuvering, managing the bike as I go through terrain and whatnot. It removes less calculations in my head. I mean, I'm not Travis Pastrana or the other, like... did I say it right? Was it Travis? But yeah, I'm not those guys that are super good with dirt bikes. Yeah, you get seamless shifting too. No stalling, right? Your clutch essentially lasts forever. And in traffic, there's no clutch you gotta worry about. Just twist, go. Ever rode a scooter, a moped? It's as convenient as that. Geb Gymkhana stream. I can't. Biff is gonna bonk me if I do that. I can't even jump the damn bike anymore. Building a new computer, says Mitzi. Building a storage server and buying a house was a huge... Buying a house? I mean, if you already bought a house, congratulations. You made it to endgame. You've finished the main quest. I think that's endgame for me too. When I afford my tiny, teeny little residence, right, somewhere, and then I can live out my days there in peace, and then, yes, I can stream there. My bike is in a little garage. I don't need those big houses meant for families, no. I just need one bedroom. That's it. Get some goats, you know, some pigeons. Cichlids. I saw one loaded up on the gills on my drive yesterday. Thought on that? Thought on the Geb? What do you mean, Pascal? Just don't get me wrong. I loved my verses with the manual. It's just... Yeah, right? You control one with the machine. But let's all admit, it becomes awfully inconvenient when you are not just happily cruising in a highway. Oh, having to feather a throttle uphill is atrocious. You use his parking brake until you hit bite point. Yuck. Oh my god. I remember buying my first manual motorcycle. I met with the dealer around 11:30 p.m. on a McDonald's, right? It's a second-hand bike. It was a Benelli TRK 502X. So, adventure bike, mid-size. And then once we parted ways, I gave the money, we got the papers. Hey, good luck. He asked me, so you're just gonna drive the bike home, right? I said, yeah. It's my opportunity to learn how to drive it. What do you mean it's your opportunity to learn? You don't know how to ride it? I said, nope. And he was like, so you bought a manual motorcycle, a big one, not that, and you don't know how to ride shift clutch. Good luck, buddy. All right, thanks for the deal. And then he skedaddled off. And I was in the parking lot of McDonald's for a good 2 hours. And then the neighborhood within a 300-meter area. thank goodness it was midnight because there was no people around, right? So I knew it in theory how to ride it. Like, okay, so release the clutch slowly and then you're supposed to move forward and throttle. It sounds easy, but if you'd never done it in your life, you will not get it right on the first go. So for the next 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, I was like an idiot stalling in the middle of an intersection, stalling in front of many people, like, like it's just like that. Until I somehow managed to learn how to drive it at least until like third gear in confidence to bring it home. I even had to phone my friend who was riding a bike. He has a 150cc bike, but he's been riding manual all his life. Hey man, yeah, I'm in this McDonald's. Yeah, I'm close by. Oh, what I need you for? One, can you please bring a jug of water? I'm so thirsty, don't ask why. Two, just come here, man. I'll pay for your commuting fare. I need help with something. So on the spot, my buddy, let's name him Francis. My buddy Francis saw my frustration, right? And decided to teach me how to ride the bike on the spot in the dead of midnight, 2 a.m. in some shady neighborhood. It was dark. There was barely any street lights. He was laughing so hard. Yep. And that's the story of my first manual bike, chat. At least you didn't instantly wheel it. No. I kept on stalling it because I thought that all I had to do was let go of the clutch and not throttle up. I was so scared of throttling up because I might wheelie the damn thing. It was just like, oh shit. How do I do this? Nah. Anyway, going back to chat. Sorry, let me read it. Parking brake on a motorcycle is your feet. That's true. And how strong the bone strength of your ankles are, your shins. You see this thing? I sometimes had the bad habit of having the footrest of my bike in front of my shin, right? And you know what happens when metal has contact with bone, right? It does that. We don't want that to happen. I'm sure Vesper does not want to see that happen.
Yeah, no, I would rather not have to, like, sort of have you, like, hold onto my shoulder while you hobble back into the apartment.
Oh, yeah, Happened to me many times, chat. Got an ankle sprain. Now, going back to chat, friend has the exact same. One cool. It's so cool, right? It's a parallel twin bike. It's a 360-degree crank. It sounds like an inline four despite having 2 cylinders. An Africa twin full of accessories as Pascal, 2 riders and even a spare tire on a 6R 300 km mountain drive. Made me want to save up for one once I get my plus 500cc bike license. Yeah, right? It's cool. You go around. I'll have my little tent, maybe moto cap. Well, I'm kidding. I'm gonna go glap. Pure dedication, right? What better moment to learn than being in a stressful situation? Those are good buddies. He's probably one of my closest friends. I've known him probably for 20 years. The nerves will go away with time. Remember the first time I was in the center? Beth said, oh, I did that with my bike on hills. Shins are the best way. Right? You just, instead of the biting point, when you're resting the footrest on your shin, you feel like the braking point. So as long as nothing is cracking, you're good. The parking brake is engaged with no worries. Beth is posting a gif of himself on a wrecking ball with a Santa suit on music. Okay. I have thought about wearing shin guards before. Ecuador was really hilly. Oh my goodness. I cannot stress the amount of importance having proper ankle and shin protection on a bike is. Thankfully, I ride one of those tall semi-motocross boots. It's called adventure boots. So it's not as stiff, but it's stiff enough that you can walk around with it. You don't waddle around like a duck. Whoa! I'll look at the VI chat category and apparently Cinder Collie earlier is streaming too. Dude, they have the moon
Has
fan.
it not been like good world after good? Like, I literally spent like an hour and a half sometime last week on desktop looking for worlds that have good lighting and good backdrops and stuff so I could stream from them.
Okay. You got this in there. I'm sure you'll find
I'm
one.
gonna knock it all down and put an apartment building here.
You know, knock it all down. Strutsky's a bit loud compared to you.
Okay, well, I'm currently live right now, so I can help you with your predicament. Now, where are we? I just wore good boots, says Beth, with ankle splits. Better than nothing. Some people ride in their tennis shoes or jogging shoes. Those things are gonna be destroyed before your legs. I was surprised to find that on some motorcycles. All you had to do was let off the clutch gently, no throttle, and it starts. Right? They just let it go, and then... Ow. I'm curious, I need to hear. They talk about nice lighting.
Oh, oh dang.
Fastest day in the West.
Make it all
Well, come back. I want to read what you have to say so I can break it apart. I like how it said homosexuality. Sexuality. You spelled it wrong. It was extra spicy. Listen, I'm all for, you know, a little bit of arguing. I love it. Let's argue.
Unless you, of the three that were on your stream, you are number two.
Number two. Oh, no, I thought I was.
How was Cinder Collie able to jump into my stream and comment when while entertaining 160 plus people? Oh,
I don't know. You couldn't bury it.
wow, I wish I had that kind of multitasking skills.
Okay, fair point, but I.
Hold on, let me pause that. Anyway, so where were we? Riding with no gear. Yeah, that was me. I'm guilty, of course. And Vesper redeems a hydrate. Vesper, you know what to do. Time to hydrate
Yep.
you. Thank goodness I'd have this definitely not oversized 2.8 liter flask. And I can't even open. Hold on, chat, I'm drinking. Well, I gotta head back. Good luck. See you around, Beth. Thanks for dropping by. I'll
Bye,
catch
Beth.
you next stream, yeah?
Yeah, no, this guy right over here, he doesn't mess with his bike safety nowadays, though. Don't
Ah,
you
it's so
ride around
sour.
with full riding gear on?
Yep. Sorry, I had peach juice. Yeah, of course, 100%. You need, like, safety above everything else.
jacket, helmet, pants, boots. I don't know if you wear gloves or not.
I wear gloves. I always wear gloves. I'm covered head to toe.
Good. Good. Don't get road rash on your hands. That, at least from what Grandpa's told me.
Yeah. So first things first
Nightmare.
is you gotta wear boots, right? You gotta protect your ankles and you gotta protect your shins. And then the next thing you need is knee pads. Right? Knee pads and then thigh protection. The third one is you need a jacket which has padding for your torso, your rib cage, and in the back. Normally front, back, shoulders, and then arms. Essentially everything that becomes an impact point. And what else? A helmet. How can I
Helmet,
stress that?
so-
Helmet and gloves. Gloves, you need it unless you want to see your bones when you slide over the pavement, running 3 digits in your speed.
And not to mention how hard it is to recover from any sort of head trauma as well.
Oh yeah, true. I've seen videos of it. Terrible. Sunglasses. Funny enough, I don't wear sunglasses underneath my helmet because I have a drop-down visor already built in.
As a whole, tisk. Strutsky is a bite risk. It happens. It's true. It does happen. He's got warning labels.
Health-based insurance tiers.
Health.
Cute. Give me a moment as I browse chat. I wonder when I'll be able to get that esteemed check mark of being verified on Twitch. Partner, huh? One day. No tinted visor. I see. You see I have a dual visor helmet. One is clear for general riding, protects you from the dust. And then inside there's a drop-down sun visor, which is cool. Protects you from the sun. Zion Zeta says, "Hey guys, thank you for your streams. They really suit me while I am at work. I work from home as customer service. And I always have anxiety throughout calls, so the stream makes me feel grounded and in a good company. That is so wholesome, and thank you for your kind words." I know. I'm sure with enough encounters with not irate customers, the anxiety should be gone whenever you go speak to them. Yep, no glasses frame needed. What does it take to get verified? I need 1 month of having consistent 75 viewers on my streams. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm really popular among furry circles because, well, Faru, I don't know why. I don't know why. It's okay, don't worry about it. If it happens, it happens. Racing in airtime, I think that is behind me now. I used to race, well, flat track at least, a little bit. And I used to ride off-road a little bit too. It's nice, going on trails, going on silt beds, trying to combat that powder. But unfortunately, I am not surrounded by family members that I can summon on my whim. Like, if I get injured out in the forest, that's it. I'm dead. Maybe my friend if he accompanies me, but I don't have a big support group around me that warrants having a risky hobby such as that anymore. Others, it's easy. Like, oh god, call the ambulance, and then you have parents who will cover your medical bills or ferry you, be there, bring you water, food when you're stuck in the hospital. I don't have that. I'm on my own, chat. Positive Vespers on the other side of the planet at the moment. We're working to get her within proximity, but that's a long stretch goal. One day.
Yeah, just gotta get things established first. Yeah, one day.
One day. Better go in groups, right? Yeah, that's true. I need to make IRL riding friends too. Gosh. Now, where were we? Right. Man, I'm tempted to just go sit down and relax. Listening to music as usual. Now, what's this? Strawberry milk boba. That sounds absolutely delicious right now. Says, oh my goodness, I finally caught you on a live. How's your day going? Uneventful? Peacefully uneventful. It is great. I unfortunately ran out of the meat that I was enjoying earlier. I should have cooked more. Maybe I go buy again. Sometimes so anyway, I'm rambling, sorry. Mildly hungry, chat. Aside from that, it's doing great. Thanks for asking. How's your day going? To do something about my leggy tracker is constantly sliding down. Thanks for sticking around, chat. I know, today is not the most exciting days of all. I am always filled with the dread that my content is not particularly that exciting, that it warrants people to stay. Sorry, I needed to walk around, stretch my legs, get the blood flowing again. I wonder. But still, we are here to see a what, Waffle? It seems your message got cut short. To see, hear, and talk to you. Oh, thanks, wow. It is great as well, finishing out some work. I'm curious, what work do you do? Something physical, retail, stocking, customer service, work at home. Also, group rides never get boring. Precisely, I miss that. The camaraderie while you're on two wheels. Adventurers on the road. Your content is refreshing, Gab. It's nice to see someone take a chill. Thanks. Government work. A public servant. Congratulations. What's this? Oh, wow. Whoa. Hello.
It seems both feet are doing the salute.
I know, because I'm standing on the spot with just the funny. That's the funny interference. Yep, that's bad. Looks like I'll be sitting down, or at least standing here. I thought Beth had to go. Come on, Beth, I'm sure you're busy. I'll see you next stream anyway, right?
And you're probably gonna catch them later too, anyway.
My trial is away, gosh. Then, I completely forgot about Risk of Rain 2. That's something I gotta play again, I think. You may notice me staring into the distance a lot. That means I'm just looking around. Alright, so what's this? Zion Zeta goes. Gab, hope you don't mind me asking. What world are you in? I would love to show my mother later. She's new to VR. Oh, sure, for your mom. This is called Sunrise Relay. Hello, Spatillion. Risk of Rain is great. Oh, remember when I played the soundtrack during that one not so extended streams, Beth? Hello, random chatter. Ah, only had a chair there, I would sit. Speaking of sitting, I need to check my batteries. I'm already running 2 hours, so I think it's time to change cells. Look at Vesper while I change my power back.
Alright,
Okay.
guess I get to keep you guys company.
Careful, chat.
Hello,
She's
hello.
the mod.
Careful indeed.
I've tried to make her out of some scary person. She's actually really nice. There we go. Power has
Yeah,
been
no, I only
swapped.
get to be scary if you if you misbehave.
Chargerino. There we go. Nice and swap. For me.
Hello, hello.
Hold on. I'm gonna go now, says Blue. What's this? I got some soup because I'm a bit under the weather. Hope you all have fun for the rest of your days. What is with that ominous farewell? I hope you have fun for the rest of your days. Okay. Could say a blue
Unintentional
villain.
threat.
Damn. Okay. I meant they, singular. Alright, there we go. Gosh. A few broken bones, why not? Hello, what new VR headset did you get, Vesper? Well, she used to run the Quest 2, but now she's running the
Quest Pro.
Quest Pro.
I mean, you've been around long enough to know. Well, I didn't buy any new headset. It's just new headphones that I wear over the headset.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, probably referring to the audio device you have now. Shh, it's a Logitech something.
Logitech something.
A Logitech
You
something.
gotta do your own research.
Hmm. So, where were we? I keep on accidentally kicking this big old jug of water, by the way. So 2 hours and 6 minutes, huh? We almost have to say goodbye. Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's it, yo. So Vesper, today starts your break day, right?
Yep. So for the last three days, I was working retail.
Nothing exciting there.
Mm-mm. Busy, sure. Hectic, sure. But retail.
I mean, you've been working retail for a while. What would you say is the most challenging aspect? Also, this is my cat. You just can't see him. What's the most challenging aspect about working retail for you?
Probably the fact that you have to stand in one spot for so long and the endless amount of groceries, so it's just beep, 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 beep. It's a lot of repetitive movement, so by the end of my shift, my shoulder feels like a concrete mixer and my legs hurt.
Oh, and of course, they don't let you sit, right? Some weird,
Nope, not unless I'm on break.
unfriendly store policy. Answering emails while having to deal with customers. Ugh. Whoops. Since Vesper's been summoned. Hello, Art. I'm glad you could make it to stream. Always a pleasure seeing you and you here in stream. Totally. That's funny how Art here, an example of somebody being in my community, is now becoming more vocal and comfortable with the rest of the people. From just being quietly there to now having to dabble with setting up their own avatar in VR chat. So nice. Too bad I wasn't there during the last meetup. I wonder what was going on. No, I remember now. Axiom said you guys were doing Cards Against Humanity. He was very particular about complimenting your avatar for being very cute. I said, Axiom, were you referring to the one with the buck teeth? That said, yes, it was so adorable, so cute. I said, that was Art. Right. It's been quite a journey, man. Cool. Glad you're happy, Art. Gotta skedaddly do might be gone for 2 hours. Oh wow, okay, well. Yeah, Vesper did indeed get summoned to a different plane of existence. Oh dear. Let's go rework that camera then. Da-da-da-da-da. Gotta make it nice and dramatic. Bit of a zoom out so you can see. There we go. I think. At least you can see like my outside. Now where is that camera? I can't see. Directly behind? What? Oh well. Oh, okay. Yep, something urgent did come up, Vesper Wines. Let's say streams are usually 2.5 hours. That's true. It's not too long, not too short. I just make sure to be able to keep you guys company as long as I can. I low-key caught a bunch of ads and I get a response about how long your streams run for. Well, I'm glad Litz was there to cover me. What's this? Armo says I had to go grab money out of the bank. I bought my mom a new car and forgot I had to get the auto sales place cash today. Wow, imagine just on a whim having to go to the bank and then getting money. Like, oh, I'm gonna buy my mom a car. I have such purchasing power. Mm. Of course, Strawberry made it to the Discord too. A ball, huh? What is the most acceptable start to playing Christmas music? I think that's like November. There we go. Now going to the media. Car needed fixing, so I fixed that. Okay. No wonder Nord couldn't make it to stream. We have Volp here sharing images of what seems to be a view in Grand Theft Auto 5. I'm just joking. That's quite the scenic view. What a dense city below. And so the guessing game for the password begins with Zion here. Okay, yeah, good luck. Zion, let me give you a clue to the password. It's 2 words. That's it. Don't type anything else. Specifically 2 words. It's not me verifying it. It's a bot. Same goes to everybody else trying to get in. Waska's telling White Iron to get Iron's mom a bike. Streamer and chat will approve. 100%. $100 billion %. Could have been, but you're not wrong. It's actually my city, which is pretty small. I'm glad you like it. Looks like such a nice grand view, though. I wonder how long it takes to get from that spot you're on to the city center where the malls are and everything. Here, because there's traffic, it'll take maybe an hour and a half. Maybe 2. Yeah, it's terrible here in Manila, chat. Ugh.
I will absolutely. They will absolutely bite that Snorn once you get it. Are you gonna bite my Snorn, Struts?
Oh, okay, maybe not. I'm just curious. What's this? Lee, no, Bob replies, in heavy traffic, it's probably like 45 to 60. 60? That's not bad. Might take so long in order to get there. Woob says, after hearing about bikes here, might have convinced me to start just before New Year's. Go ahead, grab that machine. Trust me, I have such a grand time riding a motorcycle. I have yet to meet a guy who wanted the bike, bought one, and was unhappy with the decision. Oh, you'd love riding this road, Gab. It's so twisty and has so many trails. Oh, I wish. I envy most of the roads that are available there in the States. That's the States, right? Like, you just find a back road that you just ride into. Here in the Philippines, the city area is so densely packed. There's no real place you could ride off and just explore. When I was looking through Vesper's videos before, she used to share walking around her neighborhood. I said, you guys have so much space. Each house has a big yard and there's just so much space. Like a space that could house probably 10 families in the States is equivalent to a space that could house like 30 families here or 40. Greece. Oh, Greece. Wow. I've seen pictures of Greece. White, blue, by the ocean. Was it limestone? Those structures looks very nice and scenic. Would love to ride there one day. Truly. Man. Bob says yes, if you do find your way here for vacation or anything, it might feel familiar. Tons of trails and a lot of off-roaders riding motocross. I always envy seeing the videos on YouTube about guys on adventure motorcycles just riding through Europe. There's so many beautiful places. There's this one particular scenic route, which I keep on seeing, which is a mountain. It's very steep, and then it crisscrosses like that. And it goes down into like a town. Was it wedged between mountains or something? Oh, God, to experience that, even just once in my life. Happy to catch a stream, gotta go. I'll see you around, Robin. Thanks again for the sub. I appreciate it. I used to do a lot of rock crawling back in Colorado. Rock crawling means you have a 4x4 going slowly, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Good luck getting the password right. So once you replace the city lights with LEDs, they don't do so well under the heat, huh? I read the message about Mitzi in the Discord. I swear I'm smarter than this. You know what's funny, Zion? There are people who manage to get the password in less than 30 seconds. Just like that. And then there are members who never got them at all, even staying in the channel for 2 weeks until I had to... You can do it. If you put your heart and, well, your mind into it, surely you'll get what the password is. I have no idea what any of those are, White Iron Wolf, but I'll assume that's cool and fun to do. 30 seconds, more like 30 minutes. 30 minutes is not that bad. It's so funny. I keep on asking people in general, what did it feel like to finally guess what the password was? They're like, I never felt so stupid in my life. The biggest facepalm ever. It's so easy, right? Litz can attest. Don't tell Zion or the others trying to get in what the password is. You'll know you've got it once you see more channels. 2 hours for Iron Wolf. Pardon me, chat. My cat is still here to my side. Gosh. Not that hard. The password. Surely you'll get it. That's also funny, the amount of people that just plain old gave up just because they couldn't get the password. Very telling of the capacity of their noggins.
Flirting with this disaster became me. It named me as a fool to be. Almost blue, almost touching it will almost do. There's a part of me
Keep on guessing, you'll get it eventually.
always true, always. All the things that you promised with your eyes.
The heart is complete. Yeah, the muscle is complete. Right? The electrical signal is still fine, but the heart muscle.
Oh, they're talking medicine. This is interesting.
Right.
Yeah, I don't even know what you do for that.
Nothing. Epinephrine.
What's the
You do epi. So if you go down the non-shockable rhythm pathway, which is asystole, which is complete flatline, nothing, and pulseless electrical activity, it's just CPR and epinephrine all the way down until someone calls it.
Rhythm shockable? No. Then CPR, 2 minutes, 5 cycles.
Yep.
Still obtain IV
Yeah,
access.
it's 2 minutes. 2 minutes of CPR.
Alright. If they're still streaming, we'll go here. Interesting. It's not a race. I swear I'm really having difficulties. Come on, you got this. Gosh. Are you Zion or are you stuck in the Matrix like the rest of us? Also, Mitzi, pardon about the trackers. It's, it's clearly the cost to effort ratio is not the best for both of us. I don't want to trouble you with just 2 pieces too. Oh, by the way, if you are unable to guess the password after a certain amount of time, you will be booted from the server and you have to rejoin again. It's just so there's no clutter, right? Strawberry got in. It's a very facepalm moment. Right? Right? It's right there. That's what I can tell you. A password that is very much just right there. People having I can't reach it. So much difficulty. Now, Strawberry, the next thing you need to do is type your introductions. It just says no, it's fine. I wish I could do more, but unless I buy like hundreds of I fix the cost per unit. It's understandable. Not the best for all parties. Sorry, Mitzi. I really do appreciate your kindness, but I don't want to put strain on your pocket for only two. Yes. Geb, do you play Tarkov? I played a little bit of it with Bev. We promptly were introduced to what mines were. I haven't picked it up ever since. Oh yeah, the mines. Oh my goodness, the mines. Me and Pepper, like, okay, man, we're in the forest, we're safe, we're away from the action. Alright, let's explore. And then boom, like, was that a grenade? Was somebody attacking us? And then, yeah. The next time we played, me and Beth, we decided to spawn in. Where was that, Beth? It had buildings in it, like storage units. And then we holed up in a tower. We could not see what was attacking us because we were stuck with the default guns that just had iron sights. Yeah. Where'd I type my intro? In the introductions channel. Beth says, hey, look, a minefield sign. Let's go another way. More mines. So we went up to a rock. Mines. Maybe I'll pick it up again sometime. You know what would make Tarkov super cool for me? If they had a mode like with Anomaly. I'm a big fan of the Stalker series. So if they could put the Tarkov system into a Stalker environment, right? Weird, anomalous situations, artifacts, and mutants and other grotesque creatures that you could run into. That would be super fun co-op. I would love that. You never win a Tarkov, just suffer a little less. Have you and Vesper played the 5 Minutes World yesterday? No, we have not, actually. They said it will have mod support. Then I will come back to it when mod support is put into it. I've always wished Stalker 2 had a multiplayer mode. That would be so fun. Yep. I'll play Star Citizen when it actually comes out. If it even comes out. But at this point, I'm more excited about the other game. What was it? I saw Henry Cavill in it. It was the first-person shooter thing. I don't remember what it was called. It wasn't Expedition 33, of course. That's Claire Obscure. I enjoy Ark. No minefields. True. You know what was weird, Beth? I remember when we were playing before, I had such fun with it. When we got mugged out of our machine guns. Now when I play it, I don't. It's not the same. I don't know why. Action seems to be really into it. Maybe I just need to go really download the Division again. That might scratch the itch. You know what sucks? I was looking at my Steam wishlist and I saw the games, the single player games, mind you, but that I've been wanting to play for a long while. Stellar Blade, it's on sale, but it's still too expensive. I always wanted to play Black Myth Wukong, but it never really dropped to a reasonable price. Oh. Sometimes I just want to play single player games, you know? Getting slowly sucked into Ark, but need to start playing with other people, says Art. The stress of solo reading is taking me down. Ah. Dino Blade is on beta. What is Dino Blade? Is this on Steam? I can't. I don't have money. I I need to save up. Dino Blade. What is that? Oh, it is. What's that? Oh, this thing where you play as a dinosaur with a weapon. Okay. It looks cool. Yeah. I'll just add to wishlist that thing there. Anyway. Still waiting for Helldivers to drop us. I think Helldivers is really cheap for the amount of entertainment it gives, though. I'm really hesitant about spending money on single player games. Because once you finish the game, that's it. Multiplayer games, though, because you get to play with friends. Yeah. You can put hats on a chicken. You mean Scrappy? The rooster? I never really got to upgrading him. To be fair, I never really got far into the game. Ah. Two hours and 33 minutes. I know, Litz, but I haven't made Gota yet. Shh, shh, you hear that? Oh, getting DMs from bots. Hey, I'm bored. You wanna talk? Totally made up name. I'm still waiting. New people might drop by, Litz. Ah, oh well. Finally, class is over, says Crystal. I'm free for the rest of the day. Congratulations on your freedom. I mean, it looks interesting. I'll probably try it out. It works again. Yes, it works again. Beth, if you gave like for the last stream and whatnot, I'm sorry if I missed it. Apparently my stream elements was Borg. I was like, what? Thank you, Beth. Well, you look at that. It's 2 hours and a half. Looks like I gotta skedaddly do. Mm. Okay. I'm just making sure. The decimal returns. Yes. Iron Wolf says, hey, I love your content. I wanna be your biggest supporter. Let's get you more likes and views. Add me in Discord. Totally not a scam or a bot. Let's be friends, yes? Not falling prey to that. Wow, leaving us already. Have you guessed the password yet, Zion? Fine, I'll stay. Because Beth gave, as a show of gratitude, I shall linger for at least 15 more minutes. Hmm? Thank you. Beth is running to see the chicken as soon as possible. Zion, you can try all you want. Another hint I can give you is the password cannot be an edited messages. Yeah, an edited message. So yeah, you gotta be careful with that. You get it wrong, you gotta try again. Strawberry got in. I gotta set up for a radio test tonight before checking them. So strawberry boba has the introduction. The name's Hannah. It's a girl, 25 of age, likes visual arts, watching movies and being outdoors, VR chat. Likes yellow. I'm a short Canadian who doesn't enjoy poutine. Ironic, haha. I'm slowly covering myself in tattoos. Language, English and French. Oui. So we have a French. Oh my god, it's Scrappy with the helmet. And it has racing lines too. Oh, what? Right next to some old corn. Oh my god, what are you doing, Helen? No. How do I ban this bot? Bam. No, sirree. Where were we? Another Canadian, says Mitzi, eh? It's all good. Dede. Yeah, I want me some dede. You see, if I don't have bikes, at least I have dede. But if I don't have dede as well, oh, just consider me dead, chat. That's it. I would ask more hypothetical questions on stream right now. For example, my friends are very familiar with. For $50,000, would you? Yeah, yes, right. It's somewhere along those lines. Art is all for the chicken hat unlocks. Okay. Oh shoot! I didn't realize it was being written out loud. I do this every now and then. So you play VR chat, huh? Then you better be ready. Because there's going to be a community meet probably within the span of a week. 7 days, there's gonna be a gathering, more people. I hope they show up. I'm not gay, but 50k is 50. Right, Beth? Like, oh, I could like buy 2 Africa twins in that thing. Hello, Chucks. Never ever played that. Would you rather game? That's the spider water, yes. My goodness, you remind me of things. They're gross. They're gross, I know. Oh. What's this? I'm good, Alec. Is that how I read your name? Yeah, no, it's too. What's too good? You have less than 8 days to prepare, correct? Less than 8 days is a week. Can I have it held by Saturday, Sunday, or maybe a weekday? Okay, listen. Once we have the bar, the funding, once it's reached, we help each other. We're a team. We're a team. We get this reached, I can promise you a gathering, a meeting, a community hangout. It's just us, friends, and familiar faces. I will set aside 1 stream day. That much I can promise. Alright, so once we have that, if we meet the bar before the end of the month, I will nick 1 stream day and it's gonna be community hangout and fun and activities day. 5.1k out of 100k. So you're saving up for the thing that Beth is saving up for as well. Hopefully my full body tracking will be in by then. I hope to see Beth not static and crippled. Crippled, yes I know, mispronunciation on purpose. Like a certain lit. Hey, hydrate. I shall drink my very sour peach juice just for you, Crystal. You too, chat. Go hydrate. Embrace the cripple. Ah, yes. When my Instagram is all about watching challenged humans. That's so good. It's so good. So good. Thank God, Zion. You know, you're already warm with the password. You're kind of like going off tangent. Is Go Loco okay? Absolutely. If you don't have access to trackers, right? There's an alternative. That's Go Loco. Don't worry, crippled people will be taken care of. Did you know during Forality Somna, I ran out of tracker, or the battery. My trackers ran out of battery life mid-event, right? Because it's 3 whole days straight that I attended. In order for me to not appear weird, and crippled. Matthew, who was there at the time, decided to go spawn in as a wheelchair avatar, which coincidentally had a station, a seat. So I sat there the whole time while my trackers were charging in a very stiff position like this. It's in my Discord, you can see the photo. It's really funny. Congrats, Iron Wolf. Amazing. Ba, ba, ba. Zion says, I'm howling because I spent 3 months in training for car insurance, and now I am cock-blocked with the password. It's so simple, the password. It's right there. It's right there. Use your eyes. It's fine print, I know. Again, I find myself having your stream on while working. I hope you're doing great during your shift. I think your zipper's open. You kind of need to... gotcha. It's right there. It's right there. It's right there. You'll feel silly when you... Yes. That's 100% at least 2 words. Or 3, or 4. Strawberry, right? It's right there. It's literally right there, the password. Of course, I'm not cheating by saying what the password is, but it's right there. Well, you can do it. Yeah, honestly, it surprises me. The amount of people that misses something that's right under their nose. You see, in China, reading comprehension is set to such a high standard. They're smart, right? So you can do it. It's right there, the password. You have good eyes. You gotta have good eyes. It's... what's this? I think it's more of a perception check than anything. Crystal redeems Mad Life advice. What is the best password ever? Must be super secure and secret. Fine, I'll divulge the secret. You make sure it's all asterisks, right? So when you type it, it automatically shows up as asterisks. They'll never guess that it's asterisks. You hide in plain sight. It's right there. Bad life advice, chat. Only the strong-willed make it in the Gebs community. The password is the start of it all. Wait till you have to pick a side. Oh. Right, there's that too. You'll see it when you get in. If you get in. That's a wholesome and if it is what I think it is, I'm going to be mad, says Zion. Zion, judging by your profile, you handle a lot of chat. You have the growth, big numbers, and stream. So, surely you're not lacking in the comprehension department. It's in the handbook. It's right there. It's right there. Right there. There. Left and right. 2 words. How hard could it be? It's literally spelled out for you. Zion guess he's staring at the screen right now. The music fits so good. It's not on to cats. Close your eyes. What do you notice is different from the rest? Squint, observe, focus. Did some stress building music for the boy in June here. I know just the track. After this. Zion, had you tried reading the handbook backwards like manga style? Oh, that's an interesting suggestion. Go ahead. Waffle, I will eat you. Everybody's waiting in general for you. That's a thing, I don't read manga, so we're gonna ban in bar entry towards Zion forever. We're not reading manga, probably doesn't read web comics as well. Then you're lost, my child. I've completely lost all my faith. How could you not read manga? How could you not read things from Faku or from N, or things from Japan? I don't read webcomics either. Yep, you're Zion dead to me, 100%. Goodness, that's such high hopes. Starting out strong on the bottom of my list. Oh. And an unbeliever. Manga hurts my brain, says Crystal Tide. But I do like the light novels at certain franchises. Really? So you'd rather read text more than images? I see. You see, chat, when I'm not busy in Unity, streaming, or playing VR chat or games, I would often be lying down on my couch or bed, reading manga or webcomics all day. Prior to streaming, I would read like 4 hours, 5 hours per day. I read so many niche and hidden little things. I still do so to this day, but obviously not as long, maybe just like an hour and a half. I like the reading. Ever since I've discovered the convenience of infinite scrolling when you read manga, you just scroll up, up, up forever, and it just seamlessly loads the next page. I was hooked. I can't believe Zion typed right there and passed dash word. I'm so disappointed. I'm super disappointed. Somebody start a poll if Zion will guess the password. I'm betting on no. Oh my god, they did make a poll. Ah. Nobody look at my attempts, please. How can I not? I'm the overseer of the server. It's my job to see everything. Interesting. Monitoring the singular attempts of an individual, trying to guess something so simple, so mundane, something literally spelled before them, right under their nose. How can I? Strawberry already made it in. We're just waiting on you. It's wild watching these poll results come in real time. Will Zion succeed? Will Zion fail? Everybody's watching you right now. Spotlight's on you. Yeah, squint harder. Observe what you could have missed. Look at that handbook. What could it be? Something so obvious. It's right there. You see, it's a clue. 2 words. Right? 2 words. Oh, I see why it's confusing now. Oh, how could I have missed that? Let me revise the handbook so it's more clear. Okay, let's remove that. Oops. There we go. Okay, good. Now it's impossible for you to make mistakes. Don't disappoint your supporters, says Litsa. That's true. Can you believe we're actually rooting for somebody that just showed up on stream? So try and get into Discord. The Discord with hundreds of people that actually managed to guess the password already. Did Gem go full Korean? No. The background music is being. I got it, and I'm an idiot. Yes. Ah. Still waiting, still guessing. What could it be? My It's right there. The password is right there. If you're gonna read the handbook, use your skills of perception. What could those two words be? Hmm. Is this an exercise in perception or disappointment? That all hinges on Zion's, well, ability to guess the password or not. It's not even guessing, it's just saying what's right there. Hello, Midnight Apex. Look at all that black cats. And it's not two words. Ard says a Discord full of hundreds of people who managed to guess the password already. Yes, definitely a real think tank. I think the Discord is more of a congregation of managed democracy. Also, hello, Vesper. I think you were still there. Was there a time somebody got in during the first try? Yes, multiple times. He's with us in spirit for now. Now we're all still waiting. I think I did on the second try. I mean, Mitzi, you're pretty smart. What the? It's still wrong. Yes, yes, it is. Gluttons for punishment. No, of course not. It's the nicest, friendliest place there is. I had it the first time, says Mitzi, but I added some extra to it. So unfortunate I can't watch all the failed attempts. I know, I'm watching it. It's funny. Oh my god, why is the head dropping so disgustingly? Ardalo posted the gif. It's also tense because you can only send one attempt every 1 minute. It's frustrating, isn't it? It means it's perfect. It's dropping because it's full of thoughts and passwords, yes. God. If you read that without context, it's throbbing because it's full of thoughts and passwords. What's full of thoughts? What's throbbing? Thank goodness the rest of the server can see me. Yes, you're at least spared that shame. Unfortunately, I'm gonna let them know each and every attempt you make. So far, Zion has typed 2 words, Desert Sands, Shadow Guild in all caps, 2 words with the number 2, right space there, pass dash word, dash word, what? Oh, space word, hand space, book, and I space agree. What do you mean I agree? It's not even in the handbook. You know, I'll give you A for effort, but you still have to guess the password. What am I watching? Keep on trying. Oh. Pass dash word. Sure, that's definitely the password. Might as well type milk dash shake. Work is over, says strawberry milk boba. Fuck. Time to head home. Thank you for this wonderful, entertaining afternoon. Fingers crossed, Zion, you got it. I'll see you around, strawberry. I can't. Oh my god. So that's what the remainder of the stream is gonna be. We're waiting on a certain Zion to get the password. Okay, all right. Yep. This warrants a stretch. Whew. Oh. Have mercy on his poor soul. Last I checked, Zion had the picture of like blue hair used for one of those piracy sites like Fit Girl Repacks, right? Something like that. Mm. Is it case? I don't know. It's look. The password. It's right there. It's right there. Yes, it did, dude. Something that doesn't need guesswork. There you go. Ooh. Okay. Not to self. EMF on that area. Not giving the password, but you poor. Yes. Oh. Yes, we're all on the edge of our seats waiting for a certain someone to get the password. You know what's funny? Zion guesses the password, right? And then decides to leave the server 2 days later, like most does. What? There's no NSFW of Geb here? I thought there was like Yif and like crap here. No, there's none. Let me set your expectations right prior you joining, okay? Imagine full body, not full body, I know. No, I ordered something from Amazon. It's supposedly a better receiver. We'll find out if that's true. Yep. Come on. No. God. Alright. I'll give you one actual substantial clue, okay? Those of you trying to guess the password, write it as it is presented. Okay. It's okay. Hi, Music Hog. Holy crap, there's my SFW for NAFTA. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of Vesper stuff there too. My earbuds are dying. Yeah, well, better go charge them. Doo-doo-doo. You know you got a 10 out of 10 product, an earbud of such quality when you turn it on and when it pairs to your device, it says, the Bluetooth device has successfully connected. Yep. You know that you got the S grade stuff. Battery full. The Bluetooth device has successfully paired. 10 out of 10. They sound like you're in the actual recording studio once you have those. It's a Polish accent that deals quality. Ba, ba, da, ba, ba. Oh, teeth check. Yes, chat, I just used you as a mirror. The Chinese woman scares the crap out of me with Bluetooth devices. Oh, they all use the same voice prompts for it. Yes. The Bluetooth device has successfully connected. Yup. Oh my god, every cheap Bluetooth speaker that you get or anything that's wireless. I know, since I bought some China knockoff Bose headphones called Bass, like the fish. Yeah, and it's honestly those lasted longer the jobs I'd work in construction time. And that's true. Sometimes they're just rebranded gems, like B quality of the real thing. My bathroom speaker has that, and it's such a meme. Like the Adibas or all the bootleg stuff you can buy from AliExpress. I love it. I thought Geb was gonna say I ordered something from Amazon. I hope it'll arrive after Zion guesses the password. The parcel will probably arrive even before. What's that? What's this? So close. Oh dear, oh my. So close, yet so far. Another try, another attempt, you got this. I believe in you. Good God, thank you, Gab. And Zion guest time for today's amazing entertainment. I will say around Lee, you make sure you don't rush so much in your work. Get in trouble. Did you finally get it? Oh my God, what's this art? Work is over, says strawberry milk boba. Oh. Yes. Yes, Ard. Oh my goodness. Congratulations on making it in. Now, head your butt over to the introductions channel and then write your intro now. We got it before D leaves her work. Yep. Surprisingly so. Congratulations. Oh, now we shall see if the introductions are done correctly. Yeah, but one chance. Okay, alright, got it. That's it then. Damn. Apparently, my foot tracker does not like me standing in that spot. I was hoping I could make my escape before you saw that. I see everything, Art. I also am questioning if I like your old hair or your present hair better. Hmm. I can sleep peacefully now. See you around, Vomp. Did he? Oh. Let's wait for the introductions. I swear it's gonna be fumbled so certainly. Wow. Okay, keep at that. Is that Fireflex lurking? I see you. We haven't talked in so long. Who else is lurking? Uh-oh, Geb is looking at the lurker list. Better close the tab. Too late. Alright, so that's not even my present here. It's been cut since then, but I better get back to work. Bye-bye all. And so Ard exits the building. I'll see you around, Ard. Thanks for hanging around. I hope you had fun during the stream. Like, alright, good night, chat. Really gotta go now. How fun. Oh my goodness, this is time for me to go as well. To be fair, we are at 3 hours and 18 minutes into the stream. Probably should skedaddle too. Gab, you're freaking me. Is it your voice different? Is your accent? What do you mean, Music Hog? I've always spoke this way. Unless you're talking about the impression of a certain orange person I was making an impression of. Let's see. I don't think so. Well, I've always just been me. Unless my mic is running low on battery again. Fun facts about me. I'm from Puerto Rico but live in Florida in the USA. I majored in graphics design, currently working in car insurance industry while I self-studied to change careers to cybersecurity, language Spanish and English. I mostly repost stuff, not really active in socials in general. I see. Of course, I'm not gonna go read the age, so yes. Unless you want me to read the age, so. So, our. And also, everybody who called Zion a he is actually a she. Team Zion has no pee-pee. Gabe, how much do we need to donate to get you to read the first Harry Potter book and make it a full audiobook reading? I would do it at $100 per 20 pages. That's actually really cheap. Now that I think about it. Welcome to the club. I can't believe we spent the past hour anticipating Zion's joining to the server. Oh my goodness. That's the funniest thing, I swear. Zion is a she. I'm not joking. If you know who Fit Girl Repax is, there is a similarity. Dang da da dang. Ding 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 ding. Ding ding. If you know the team, you're Ahoy and Yarhar. I finally found you after following you on Instagram for a while. Says Zenter. Oh, Zenter Music. I remember reading your comments. Welcome to my stream. Well, technically, my stream finished around 50 minutes ago. So what you're watching is the post-stream stream where things are not canon 100% of the time. I am far from fit, says Zion. My back and knees hurt. Can barely get out of bed or stand up, and I make the wrong move. So, very befitting of the age that you have put. I remember hearing certain reports from Beth as well. I found my first gray hair last night. I mean, isn't it cool? You now have like the ultra rares amongst the commons. Strange, another music and chat. I am mad. I had it right the first time, but I added a long text in parentheses to it. Hey, at least you got it right. Now tell me, Zion, before I go ask in the Discord itself, how does it feel to finally guess what the password is? The one that was right there, spelled out for you. Yippee, more old people, says Beth. Welcome to the knee cracking club. So Iron Wolf is 35 and screwed up from long manual jobs like construction, trucking, and he's even been blown up. My goodness, an explosion. You should have written it as it was. Ain't it cool? You blew up, Iron Wolf. Hey guys, did you know I blew up? Can you imagine just casually just dropping that in the conversation? I would laugh. I'm sorry. Even at 26, my knees are fading slowly. Don't worry, 4 more years and they're gonna crickety crack. I'm talking from an Ouija board right now. Right? Just doing that. How did you die, Spirit? I blew up. Yes, I blew up. Yes. I mean, you can emotionally explode, right? Says music. Yeah, that's true. 3 years ago, I tore the meniscus in my knee. I've never been the same. Every step I take, something physically shifts. You'll be remembered. A meniscus that was not torn.
that you promised with your eyes.
Gosh, imagine. Imagine tearing your meniscus. Right?
Now your eyes are red.
I'm so glad I didn't tear anything in the 6 crashes I had. I mean, my wallet got torn open, yeah, but everything else I healed.
Flirting with this disaster became
I meant I got caught up in a demo explosion of an old. See, that's even cooler. How? So, hey man, what's up? Oh, I blew up in a building. Typical Tuesday. I'm better now, though. Thanks for asking. Did I tell you I blew up?
almost touching it will almost do. There's a part of me that's
Yeah, like me the past hour guessing the server's password.
true. Always.
Oh my god. That's what I'm dealing with right now. The meniscus in my right leg is torn. Ah, I see. They had to try to drop a building on me to kill me. See what they have to do to mimic a fraction of your power. See, right? Oh my goodness, if it ain't Mecha. Hello, greetings. And so Mecha says, long time wibble wobbler, first time caller. Speaking of bad knees for you to show up. Hi there, was wondering what should I do about the garden that needs gardening, but I have to watch my leggy. What should I do? Bad life advice. So last time I told him to find some 2x4s and fasten it to his leg as a makeshift splint. Alright, now you need just one 2x4, Mecha. Alright, the problem is you're unable to execute the task because of the pain. So what we need to do is make the pain go away. So you grab your 2x4 and then you preferably find a piece of cloth 6 inches in length, an inch thick, like one of those ropes that you give your dogs to play tug of war with. You bite into that, you close your eyes, right? You grab the 2x4 and you just, right? It's gonna hurt for half a second, but then for the rest of the day, it's gonna be numb. A bit swollen, yes, but it's numb, and you'll find out that you can actually go about your day. Pain is gone. Trust me. Bad life advice chat on how to work with a bum knee. You smack it hard with a piece of wood. Beth says it's percussive maintenance. But yes, good morning, Micah. I'm surprised you managed to catch me live. What's your plan today aside from totally doing what I just told you to do? Mechatronic Dragon, by the way, is my friend who's white and silver. He sometimes passes by on stream. He may have a bum knee at the moment, but he has a golden heart. Sweetest guy, will love you to death. And he's 100% single chat. Looking. Oh, girls only though, girls. He's just doing some maintenance on this end. They can, right. Oh, that's terrible. We're gonna need the leg music. The best session I had in a while with Geb Stream featuring Zion. Yeah, entertaining, is it not? Speaking of Zion, alright, let's see this. Zion Zeta says, I've had 5 guys, but not the. Okay, damn. Capacity. Final. Oh, is this Destiny? Oh my goodness. Is this a sign I should pick it back up? Finally actually play? Maybe. Never a dull moment with Gem, of course. No, don't read my bio. I mean, I'm already here. I'm checking. 9.7 million views. That's the population of a small island. Oh boy.
It's not my style of game though, but it looks gorgeous.
Whoa! Okay, talking about the bear.
Can we fuck that bear?
Zion Zeta chat. Can we do that bear? There you go. Congratulations. There you have it. Where does it say 5 guys? It's on your pinned post on TikTok. Can you thank me? Oh no, of course. Of course, that's the first thing that pops into your head. Why else would you watch a furry on the internet? Unless you're after nice, wholesome, jazzy content like mine. Oh, right. Yep, come on. Time to eat. You know what? Let's has a point. I probably need to skedaddle too, don't I? It's been fun. I totally 100% need to go and get some food, probably. Yeah, okay, fine. Before we go, because we've invested so much energy anyway, Zion, what made you stick around this funny channel? What made you want to exert so much effort trying to get the password correct? Well, I await the answer. Same goes to you, chat, except the ones that answered this question already. You know I ask this every now and then. And Zion goes, I really like the vibes. You and Vesper, your chat seems lovely too. You always have popping music and great worlds. Oh, so this isn't the first time that you've been in my streams? Oh my. Oh, thanks. I appreciate the compliments. Now, since when have you been watching? Since when have you guys been watching? Lurking? Do let me know, please. It's for data collection purposes. I found you on November 17th. See, you should be like Zion was an exact date. November 17th. But the memorable date. 16th, huh? That was the day after the 15th. Damn, before the 17th. Welcome to this wacky world, says Iron. Yes. I kind of just faster. Don't worry, Iron Wolf. You're a tolerated existence. Been here from this summer, says Wafflecar. Saw your ride along clip on Instagram. Ride along? I have a ride along clip? What is that? Okay, you got me curious. What ride along? I don't have a bike yet. I don't know what this person is talking. Like, legitimately, I'm not lying. What ride along clip? I did post one IRL me sitting by the sands thing long ago, but that shouldn't be there anymore. Face reveal. If you dig on my Discord, you'll find my picture. Though several pictures, actually. How I look is no mystery, chat. I'm curious, though. How do you imagine do I look? Let's don't answer. You already drew how I look. Yeah. Asian. Farmer's hat. Hero. Very long mustache. Okay, next. Except let's. Ride along where you were sitting on the back seat and Vesper was driving. Oh, that one. Yeah, that's cool. I remember that. The one with Beanie. An Asian with glasses. Correct? Instead, I saw a Geb MEOW edit from Matthew. Okay, that's old. That's really old. And so my translation is very simple. No, it's okay. My most accurate representation. So don't make me. Oh, I'm gonna draw you as a sausage with the face. It's. I've seen Gabby reminds me of the guy from the Tokyo Drift movie. Oh, you mean the. Oh, Han. Oh, Han. But he's Asian, yes. I've been here since 26th of June last year, says Woms. There was a gap and picked up your streams again. So what has caused the gap? Why the absence? Why the drop? And why the return? Curious. Was it the new model? I'm curious what you think I look like though. I believe Litz looks like the yodeler. Like, you know, you got the braided hair on the left and on the right. You got the milkmaid outfit. Except you're eating like Asian noodles. Yodelay. That's what I imagine Litz to look like. Maybe with the German accent and everything. Oh, just go down. Oh my goodness. The main reason I wanted to join the Discord, says Zion, was to keep on the loop with the updates. Ah, yes, of course, the stream pings. Probably 90% of the people like muted. I know you. That's the first thing you mute. Join. Muted lizard. Blah, 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 blah. There we go. Now you can hear me again. Now, where did I cut off? I could have sworn I was making fun of Crystal. I only live here now. It's not the same. It's okay. I don't have the smart words to describe why I watch your streams as Waffle, but simply the topics, information that I accompany here, and you're all very interesting and want to learn more. You make it sound like I do educational stuff. I'm not the smartest person in the group. But yeah, see you around, Crystal. Didn't hear, didn't happen. Right, say ya. How did I say it? I'll catch you later, Sugar Plum. Crystal's from Texas, by the way, Chan. So yes, now we know how Litz looks. Well, at least according to my guesstimations. Fluffy! We'll get to Fluffy in time, you know. Talking about E-Boys, IRL is a completely separate day for that. And no. Right. Gab loves fried chicken. I learned that my first time watching. Of course, I love fried chicken. If only I could afford a bucket every day. That'd be the dream. My high sodium dream. Fluffy is an IRL E-boy, right? He's even got the cool bike, bro. Hey man, have you seen my inline four? Of course I changed the exhaust so it's cooler. I'm joking. I could see Fluffy being an IRL. I could see it too, right? Works out at home, got lucky with the housing, has a cool liter bike, eats healthy, and has a lot of time for VR chat. Right, sleeps around a lot with Axel and VR. It's right. It kind of makes sense. A wide back, sparkly. Looks kind of gorgeous, but you know. Alright, so stream's over. Go, scoot. You close my tab. I'm gone. I'm at 50% battery. So, yes. Come on, nothing extra. I already did the extra bit. My stream was supposed to end 1 hour and 13 minutes ago. But alas, the lack of making quota. I mean, me having to keep you guys company because it's an absolute joy had me remaining for the surplus amount of time. So yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and goodbye. I'll catch you after tomorrow. Yeah, that's the first day of the week of streaming, so Wednesday it is, yeah? Then I'll think of something we can do during the week that's fun for the community. So, Beth, Zion, Litz, Mitzi, Wask, and whoever else I can't recall because of my terrible short-term memory. Waffle, Woobs, Fluff, I already called you out. Now, see you around. Thanks for sticking by. To those that supported, well, I appreciate it so much. Beth, thank you for that last little nudgery-do on the bar. I know you're having a little bit of a challenging situation with the defender, but I appreciate the generosity. I'll just say. And yes, without further ado, I'm gonna. Yes. Also, you see this? Just click that list of streamers you have. Go watch them instead. Mine is all but concluded and done. Now, where was that channel I was watching? Oh, I accidentally closed it.
another train.
I'm so tempted to. I'm probably gonna throw us. Fine. I'm gonna do something. I think the stream is kind of cool. They're talking about medical stuff, so I'm gonna. Yes, give me a moment to type. I can't keep streaming. I need 100. No, I'm gonna end. I'm gonna raid. We're gonna raid this channel called Cinder Collie. They dropped by and said hello to the stream. I decided to check them out. They are furry. That's about. Doesn't have the usual tags, just like me, and they apparently are talking about cool medical stuff, which is awesome. You actually get to learn something from somebody with brain cells, not like me. Let's see if that works. Cinder Colli. Of course, I wasn't able to type it. Cinder Colli. Alright, go. Bolivia burning. The defender will run or I'll burn Bolivia. Stay around, chat, and the rest of you lurking, if you don't know where to go, I'll steer you towards this direction. Yup. There we go. Come on, let's go say hello. I rarely raid, so I hope my bet isn't wrong in this choice. So yes. And 5 and 4 and 3, 2, 1. Go.